Lytukai's twin pregnancy was a journey with Henry always by her side. From the earliest morning sickness to the sacred moment their two baby girls were born. A story full of tears, love, and sacrifice that will touch your heart. Lytuky discovered she was expecting twins shortly after getting married. The pregnancy was far from easy. Pains, sleepless nights, and intense physical and emotional pressure overwhelmed her. But what kept her strong was Henry, her husband, a dedicated police officer who was also incredibly gentle. He cared for her every meal and rest, always there whenever she felt weak. Despite his busy work schedule, Henry never neglected his role as a husband and father. He requested to be transferred to a post near home, stayed up late to soothe her, accompanied her to every prenatal checkup, holding her hand every step of the way. On the rainy day their two daughters were born, Henry cried like a child hearing their first cries. He became a devoted father, patiently rocking them to sleep, changing diapers, preparing bottles, and always supporting his wife during her postpartum days. This is a story not only about pregnancy but about true love, companionship, and the simple happiness of a small family. If you enjoy touching and heartfelt stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the upcoming stories. Thank you for watching. After a simple yet heartwarming wedding at a small seaside chapel, Lytuky officially became the wife of Police Lieutenant Henry Nguyen. There were no extravagant decorations or booming fireworks, but the way he looked at her, the way he held her hand tightly, said more than any lavish ceremony could. Their marriage began with trust, deep understanding, and a promise: I will protect you, not just as a husband, but as a man who guards what he treasures most. Just a few weeks later, as they were settling into their new life, Lytuky started feeling a little off. She was often tired, her appetite changed, and certain smells suddenly made her nauseous. Trusting her instincts, she took a pregnancy test. And there it was, 2 clear red lines. Lytuky was filled with both joy and worry. Joy because a tiny life was already growing within her, worry because Henry's job was demanding and dangerous. Late shifts, sudden deployments, would he have time to be there with her through this journey? That evening, instead of calling him right away, she decided to tell him in person. She prepared a small gift box and placed it on the dinner table. Inside, she put the pregnancy test, tied with a red ribbon, and a small note that read, "Hi, Daddy. See you in 9 months." Henry came home late from his shift, exhausted, and sat down at the table. When he opened the box, he froze. Lytuky saw the disbelief in his eyes. Then, without a word, he stood up and wrapped her in a tight embrace. You're really pregnant?" "Yes, I tested this morning, and I went to the hospital to confirm." "I really am." Henry was overwhelmed. In his years of service, he had faced life and death situations, but nothing had ever felt as sacred, as powerful, as this. A new life, growing inside the woman he loved. But the surprises weren't over yet. A few weeks later, during their first ultrasound, the doctor smiled and said, "Congratulations, you're expecting twins." 2 girls. Lytuky stared at the screen in shock, then looked over at her husband. Henry froze for a few seconds before bursting into joyful laughter, his eyes shimmering. 2 little angels. I don't even know how to thank you enough. From that day on, the once stern police officer seemed to soften. Henry started adjusting his schedule, trading night shifts, and finishing paperwork early so he could be home with her. He learned to cook nutritious meals, made ginger tea, and read every book he could find about pregnancy care. What touched Lytuky most was that every night, before bed, he would gently rest his hand on her belly and whisper, "My little princesses, Daddy's here. I'll always protect you and your mommy." One night, under the soft glow of the bedside lamp, Lytuky noticed Henry quietly writing in a notebook. Curious, she peeked. He was keeping a pregnancy journal. Each entry captured his emotions, the tiny milestones, and dreams he had about their twin daughters. Lytuky reached over and held his hand, tears slipping down her cheek, not from fear or pain, but from love. In that moment, she knew without a doubt, she had chosen the right man to be her husband. He might be a soldier of the law out there, but behind their closed door, Henry was the gentlest, most devoted husband she could ever hope for. By the 6th month of pregnancy, Lytuky's body began to change rapidly. Her twin daughters were growing fast, and she suffered from constant back pain, numb legs, insomnia, and overwhelming fatigue. Some nights, she could barely sleep more than a couple of hours before waking from cramps or the pressure on her belly. Though she tried to stay positive, the exhaustion would sometimes bring her to quiet tears. And yet, Henry, the man who wore the serious, disciplined uniform of a police officer, cared for her with a tenderness that surprised even herself. After night shifts, instead of sleeping, he would head straight to the kitchen to cook porridge, warm up milk, or prepare fruit. Their small kitchen became a familiar scene of a tall man clumsily handling pots and knives, his eyes full of love and concern. At night, when she tossed and turned in bed, Henry would sit up beside her, gently massage her back, or tell her funny stories from his early days on the police force. He would do anything to make her smile, even the smallest laugh in the dark made him feel at ease, knowing she was still fighting through the challenges. There were days when Henry had to work on critical investigations, returning home covered in sweat and dust. Yet the first thing he did when walking through the door was kiss her forehead and place his hand on her belly, a small ritual he never forgot. One evening, Lytuky broke down in tears. "I'm afraid I'm too weak. I'm scared I won't have the strength to deliver them safely." Henry sat down beside her, held her hand tightly. "You're not alone. I'm right here. Every time you feel afraid, remember we're walking this path together." He placed his hand on her belly, where their 2 little girls rested. "Daddy's here with Mommy. Let's all stay strong, together." The doctor advised Lytuky to limit movement in her 3rd trimester due to signs of preterm labor. Henry immediately requested to be reassigned to a post closer to home. He installed cameras in the house to check on her remotely and invited his mother to help, but still insisted on taking care of most things himself. Even during meetings, he would sneak in a quick text, "Have you eaten? Elevate your feet and don't look at your phone for too long, okay?" One time, when he accompanied her to an ultrasound, he saw the twins stretching their tiny arms and legs on the screen. He suddenly burst into laughter, a laugh full of wonder and joy. "Look at our two little warriors, it's like they're training martial arts in there." Pregnancy with twins was far from easy for Lytuky, but not once did she feel alone. Every moment of fatigue was softened by his gentle gaze, and every fear lessened by the firm grip of his hand, the hand of a police officer who always put his family first. Outside, Henry might be a fearless officer in the face of danger, but behind their front door, he was a surprisingly gentle husband and the most steadfast support for the woman carrying his two little angels. That morning, a gentle rain fell. The monsoon breeze brought a crisp chill to the air, making Lytuky want to stay wrapped in bed. But a sudden cramp made her freeze. At first, she thought it was just a normal contraction, like the ones she'd had before. But minutes later, a second pain came, sharper, closer. Then a third. She called Henry. He was on duty at the station. The moment he heard the tremble in her voice, he dropped everything, requested urgent leave, and raced home. "I'm on my way. Don't be scared. Breathe deep, stay calm. I'm here." Henry nearly carried her into the car, speeding through the rain to the hospital. Lytuky's face was pale, cold sweat on her forehead as the pain came in waves. She clutched his hand tightly, her eyes filled with fear. "I'm scared. I'm here. I've got you. Just breathe, leave the rest to me and the doctors." The delivery took place in a cold operating room and lasted over an hour. Because it was a twin pregnancy, the doctors had scheduled a C-section to ensure safety. Henry wasn't allowed into the OR, so he stood just outside the door, eyes glued to the frosted glass, each passing minute pounding louder in his chest. Then, a cry pierced the air. And a second one followed moments later. Henry stood frozen. His legs went weak as if he had just finished a marathon. A nurse came out carrying two tiny pink bundles. "Congratulations! Two healthy baby girls, and very beautiful too." Henry stepped forward, eyes misty. He bent down to see the tiny faces and felt his breath catch. Nothing in his life, no academy graduation, no promotion, had ever felt this meaningful. He gently touched their foreheads and whispered, "Hello, my little princesses. Thank you for coming into our lives. I promise I'll protect you for the rest of mine." A few hours later, Lytuky woke from the anesthesia. Henry was already beside her, holding her hand. He kissed her forehead, his voice thick with emotion. "You were amazing. The girls are perfect. They look just like you, beautiful." Lytuky smiled weakly, too tired to lift her arms. She looked into his eyes and whispered, "We did it. You know, I'm truly grateful I married you." During her postpartum recovery, Henry barely left her side. He changed diapers, warmed bottles, rocked the babies to sleep, things he never imagined doing before. Every time he held the twins, his eyes filled with such softness that even the nurses were amazed. This stoic police officer, transformed into the gentlest father. On nights when both babies cried and Lytuky had fallen into exhausted sleep, Henry would cradle them in his arms, gently patting their backs as he hummed lullabies his mother used to sing. The warm glow of the night lamp fell on his face, the face of a man who once faced danger on the streets, now finding peace in holding his daughters in the quiet hours before dawn. 3 months later, in the golden light of a soft sunset, their little family strolled through the neighborhood park. Lytuky pushed the stroller, Henry walked beside her, their fingers intertwined, just like he'd held hers since the beginning of the pregnancy, never letting go. The twin girls slept peacefully, tiny smiles on their lips as if dreaming sweet dreams of a world filled with love. Lytuky turned to her husband, heart full. "Henry, thank you for always being there for me. Thank you for being my husband." Henry gently squeezed her hand, smiling. "I'm not just your husband. I'm the man who will always protect you and love you. For life." The story of Lytuky's twin pregnancy and Henry's devoted care truly touched me deeply. Amid the difficulties and exhaustion of pregnancy, Henry's attentive and loving care was not just an action but a testament to genuine love and steadfast companionship in marriage. He is not only a husband but also a friend and a strong protector for his wife and children. What impressed me most was the image of a strong, serious police officer who was surprisingly gentle, patient, and thoughtful when caring for his family. Small gestures like cooking, soothing his wife to sleep, or simply being by her side during difficult moments make their bond even stronger and more precious. This story is not only about the journey of childbirth but also a reminder of the value of love, sharing, and gratitude in family life. It is an ideal example that many young couples can learn from to build a happy home together.